The next configuration we need to perform on our applications is to set the source control connection and the work items connection. And we're going to configure these at the same time because there is a relationship between the two settings, so it makes sense to do them together. So in our release, we'll eventually connect it to Rally, which is the tool we're going to use to manage our work items for the release. When developers commit code changes, they can add the work item ID, that is the user story or defect number, in the comment of the commit. And by configuring the source control connection and the work items connection in our applications, CDD can parse the comments and use the work item ID to update the progress of the work item in CDD. And that allows a release manager to see what's in progress without actually opening up Rally. It also lets them see the progress of work items based on actual code commits. So to see what this looks like in a release, let's go to a release that has work items imported. And here you can see the work items associated with this release, and you can see the status of the work item once it's in progress, as well as any errors such as code commits that reference a user story that's already been accepted, or a user story that's not associated with this release. So the first item we'll configure is the source control connection. And the source control connection will connect our application to GitHub so we can receive and parse the comments from the commits. And the second item we'll configure is the work items connection, which will connect to Rally so that CDD can compare the work item IDs and update the status in CDD. So we'll start by clicking the Web Backend Application row, and then in the Actions menu, select Source Control Connection. And at this point, it's good to mention that both of these settings require plugins and endpoints for GitHub and Rally to be configured. And setting up the plugins and endpoints is typically an administrative action that's done prior to actually creating a release. So now under source control from the dropdown, we'll select Get Commit Messages. And in the Select Endpoint field, we'll select GitHub Cloud. And in the repository field, we're configuring the web backend application, so we'll want to connect this with the correct repository in GitHub, so we'll type web backend. And for this example, this is all we need to configure, so we can click Set. And now we can see that the web backend application has a check mark in the source control connection column. And now we'll set the work items connection by selecting the web backend row, and in the Actions drop-down, select Set Work Items Connection. In the plugin field under Rally, we'll select Add Content, and in the Endpoint field, we'll select Mobile Rally Training, and then click Set. And now we can see in the web backend row that there's a check mark in the work items connection column as well. So what this did was associate the Rally work items with the web backend application. So when the source control connection receives commits with the work item ID from a commit in GitHub, CDD can look at the work items connection to know which work items to search through to match the work item ID to. And now we just need to repeat the same steps for the web front-end application as well. And with that done, we can see that both applications have their source control connection and their work items connection configured. So now any work item IDs placed into a comment and a commit for either application will be properly synchronized with the list of work items in CDD.